Hey guys, how are you doing? This is Zeb from Zed Outdoors and I hope you're having an awesome day. So today I've come down to see Nick Westermann of Hewn and Hone. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. And yourself?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So if you're not familiar with Nick, Nick is a renowned toolmaker based here in the middle of Wales, and I've come down to see him for a short period where we're going to be filming a series of videos. Now in this particular video, what we're going to be looking at is Nick's process for building a 2.5 brick forge. Now if you don't know what that is, we're going to be explaining that throughout this entire video, so by the time you watch this video you know what it is, how to build one, and a few pointers about actually using it. Now what this video is also going to be doing is tying in to some upcoming videos that we're going to be putting out on the Zed Outdoors channel, and if those videos are already out by the time you're watching this, links to all of those will be down below in the description. A couple of quick things before we get on with the meat and bones on this video. Number one, what we've done is we've broken this video out into all the different chapters to help facilitate you viewing and using this video as a resource material. Now those different timestamps are also broken down in the description below this video, and on the left hand side you will see all the timestamps of that particular video. Now YouTube has a very cool feature. If you click on that timestamp, it will jump straight to that section of the video, meaning you don't have to manually be searching through the video to find the section that you want to refer to. Secondly, there's going to be a few things materials wise that we're going to reference in this video, and links to that also will be down below in the description. Now like I said, what we're going to do now, we're going to start off with a complete fresh slate and we're going to end up with a finished product with Nick talking to you a few pointers about what to do and what not to do. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. So Nick, before we begin, for those that may not be familiar, what is a 2.5 brick forge?
Well, it's my version of the more commonly known 2 brick forge. I wanted to teach making a 2 brick forge, and I looked at some YouTube videos and I found that when people actually pulled a piece of steel out of a 2 brick forge, quite often the steel had a hot spot in the middle and it was cold at either end. So I wanted to have a go at trying to make a forge which would give a more even heat, and I found that I can do that with a 2.5 brick forge, so an extra half brick. So I'm going to show you my version of it, and it does give a more even heat than the ones I watch the videos of. So this is my version.
So where would you like to begin in the process?
We're going to start with the 2 main bricks. The other one is literally just cut in half to make the half brick, so that's not probably not the best starting point. What I'm going to do is mark it out, because the 2 bricks are going to go together and there's going to be a combustion chamber in the middle. Normally, or quite often, it's round, which is good for introducing swirl to make the flame swirl and evenly distribute the heat. I like a forge which has got a flat base though, so I've settled on a hexagonal cross section. So I'm going to mark out these 2 bricks.
So Nick, before we begin the marking out process, the question for you is, what are the actual bricks that you are using?
Oh, these are an insulating fire brick used for insulating against heat. And these are 26 GRD, 26 stands for 2600 Fahrenheit, which is their rating, which is 1400 degrees centigrade, which is well in excess of what we need. You can get lower rated ones, but I ended up buying a pallet full of these bricks a long time back, which will, if you're building a forge which you want to go up to welding heat, these would withstand that heat. So
in terms of beginning the process, where would you like to begin?
I will start by marking out these 2. That one's just going to be cut in half. So by chance, this big ruler gives me the clearance I need. It's about 30 millimeters wide. So I'll just, it's such soft brick, it's really easy to work. Oh, this is waste. So I'll just mark a line down here.
And we'll use the scribe.
A scribe, you could use a nail, you could use anything you want. Yes, yeah. And I might as well do the other one. That's just obviously so the 2, I'll cut a slot which matches, and then I'll put it in. You don't need to be on in a vise, but can catch resultant meth a little bit easier. So I'm just going to try and guess what angle I want to go. I'm going to cut it at an angle this way, cut it at an angle that way, and then a series of slots here, which just weakens it so I can snap it off. I'm not going to be coming round, so you'll get to see how inaccurate my sawing is, I think.
How deep are you going?
What's that, an inch? It's about an inch, yeah, about an inch deep, which will mean it's 2 inches. Yeah, so I'm looking for, yes, if I go down an inch, it'll be 2 inches high, and this is about 2 inches wide. So we're aiming for, well, it's going to approximate round in hexagonal shape. These bricks are quite soft, so I'm being careful not to pinch too hard. It looks all right from this end anyway.
So now you're going straight down?
I'm just going straight down. These don't matter at all, this is just clearance or relief cut. If you try and crack it out in one piece, something's going to bust. Hopefully I'm not going down any deeper than I did my angled cut. And then this is the bit I quite like. And just be nice if I had a hammer. Yeah, I'm not going to risk that. And then you can shape this very easily with a chisel to get a nice flat bottom. Oh, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'll just clear the waste. You can see I dug in a bit there, but it'll be all right. So that, flatten that out, and basically I do exactly the same on the other side now, or the other brick, which is going to be, I haven't decided which is the top or the bottom yet. But yeah, and what I should have said is use an old saw, not one that you cherish. It doesn't do it any good, but they don't seem to suffer that quickly because they are. It is very soft material. Spin it.
And you're doing this flat as well, yeah?
I'm doing it flat to start off with, and then I'm going to make a decision which is going to be the top and which will be the bottom. But yeah, at this point, so what I'll do at this point is I'll mark out where the gas torch is going to go, because 2.5 brick forge always has a gas torch going in. I want the flame to hit sort of about here. I suppose that's where I want it to hit. So I'll put it in angled about that angle. So I'm not really somebody who measures a huge amount. Or draws those straight lines, it seems. So one's going to go the one way. So when they go together, we've got that.
So basically that's just about big enough to put the blowtorch in?
Yes, yes, and it will depend on the size of your blowtorch as to how big this slot is. I mean, that's not an absolute. So I'm just going to sort. And the other thing is you have to decide, I suppose actually, get it the right way, is you have to decide at a certain point which way the flame's going to go, because it aims up towards the top. So I'm going to make the decision at this point, yeah, that's all right, that this is going to be the top surface. So this one I will actually shape rather than parallel. You can just use a threaded rod. You could use a round file, but you're going to knacker it, whereas you can use threaded rod. So rather than come in flat, which would send the flame this way, because I want to go up to the roof of it, I'm going to be, you can see how easy and intuitive this whole process is.
Two questions while you're doing that. Number one, what made you decide to use this as the top one?
Because I'd slightly messed up the surface of this one, and what I'm going to be doing with the top one is I'm going to be excavating the roof away. So this mistake is going to disappear, and I'll explain why when I've done this. This is when it's easy to get spun round and forget which way everything's going. So this flame is going to be coming, well, it's the same flame obviously, but in this case the blowtorch is going to, this is upside down now, so the blowtorch is going to be aiming up to the roof of it, because this is the top. So rather than opening up the hole this way, I'm going to be opening up the hole here.
And that leads on to the second question I have for you is, instead of the blowtorch going straight, why do you find it's better to have it angled towards the top?
Right, well, heat rises. So if you, the heat's going to end up at the top anyway, but if you have the blowtorch aiming down to the, say, well, imagine this was the bottom rather than me putting the bottom on. If this is the piece of steel you're trying to heat up, if you had your blowtorch pointing down, sure, the heat will bounce off the bottom and rise up, but it's going to locally overheat the blade or the tool you're trying to do the heat treat on, because the flame's playing directly on it. And it's still going to bounce up in the end, but if you were to have the flame pointing up, it will rise up. You know, it's going to go up anyway, but it's going to sort of, the heat's going to pool on the surface. And even then, generally what will happen is that even if you're not aiming directly at it, you'll get enough reflected heat that it will locally overheat the surface where the flame is directly below the sort of the hot spot. So what I do, and bearing in mind this is now the top chamber, so the flame is going up and the heat is pooling here, and you'll get a hot spot and it will overheat there, is I'm going to make this chamber here bigger and deeper, so where the flame ends up on the top of the chamber, it's going to be further away from the steel, which is, this is all upside down now, the steel which is there. So what I'm going to do is hollow this surface, which will then allow me to disguise this bit right over the shot. I'm using a curved steel thing, but any sort of chisely. And this is a bit trial and error. The first time I did it, it worked quite well. If you go too high, then you'll end up with almost a cold spot there because the flame's too far away. So don't take too much off. You can always, if it's still locally overheating above where the flame's going in, then you just need to make this this bit deeper. And I could even make it a bit wider here. But be aware of the flames coming in, and it should be wrapping around, so you want a fairly smooth. It might help if you have a slightly smooth surface here. And you don't need to go deep behind here, because the flame is going to be going in this way. It's going to bounce off the other half brick here, and then it's going to come back here. So, and by the time it gets here, it's colder, so you want a lower roof here. And also it will tend to lose a little bit of heat from the half brick here, so you can have a lower surface here. So it's only this area where it really needs to be increased. So really, where the hot spot would be, I'm moving the ceiling up to make that a cooler area. And it's just trial and error, so don't take too much off. You can always take it apart and take more off. But so I haven't actually moved the ceiling up right at the back. This isn't my favoured gouge, certainly, for shaping. But they are. It's not pretty, but you see, you've got more space there. And I'll just try and imagine that the flame's going in. I want it to be hitting about here, so I'll start shaping that. Okay, so we'll put it together now. And hope I haven't embarrassed myself and got these lined up wrong. So the idea is that the flames, yeah, that's the bottom. The flame's going to be coming up this way and hitting there, spreading out, bouncing off the 2.5 brick at the back and coming out the end here to get the most even distribution of heat. I don't know if you want a video of me cutting a brick in half, but I will. So the thing is, if you cut a brick in half, it doesn't quite reach up to the top of the forge, but if you cut it in half diagonally, you'll end up with 2 long bricks. This is going to be not going to be my finest hour, I think, but anyway. Could have been worse. And then just knock the sharp bit off, because you know it's not going to last. The point being that if you had it just cut in half, you wouldn't cover it, but now you can quite easily cover the hole, and there's no, yeah. So it's better to cut it that way if you're going to make 2. If you're not, then make a 3 brick forge. Yes. So that's the construction. We'll assemble it and put a gas torch in, but not on my metal workbench. We'll do it actually on top of my normal heat treat forge next.
So Nick, what are you going to do next?
Well, we've roughly assembled the forge. You can't close it up immediately. It won't run properly with the end closed up. The flame won't burn properly until it's up to a good heat. It's known as a thermally catalysed reaction. When the brick is actually glowing orange or yellow hot, the gas will ignite as soon as it touches the wall of the forge, and then it will burn cleaner. So it's better to start it off and let it come up to heat. But I've assembled it, and you could argue that I should have checked beforehand, but I didn't. This doesn't quite, it sort of fits, but I need a little bit more clearance because it's pulling that out. So all I'll do is, using this handy thing, is I'll just increase the clearance a little bit, and it get some dust out. Just check that this fits. Yeah, it's that easy. And this set dressing here is actually, because there's a little bit, it's a bit of jiggle to get everything to, so a bit of weight can help hold the thing together. I mean, if you were doing it, if you were setting up properly, you could line it up better, but I'm just going to use a few bits of steel just to prop this in place, just so there's no pressure on it. Yeah, that's holding together. So that looks all right. I'll just light it. This blowtorch is actually got enough power to run my big gas heat treat forge, which is the same sort of principle. So I know this has got enough heat to heat up this little thing.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to let this run initially and then come back to it?
Yes. So we're going to, well, first thing I'm going to do is put it in and check the flame's playing in the right place. Because if I haven't got this angle right, I'll make the adjustment before it's red hot. So we'll have a look. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. It's going up against the roof. You can see it's going up against the roof of the forge and splaying round and running back towards the end. So that looks pretty decent. And I'll turn the thing up a little bit now. And you'll hear a point, but if I close it, do you hear it changes note? And what's happening is the flame's coming out the back. I don't know if your camera actually picks up that, but it's changing note, and I can hear this is about the sweet spot for now. So some of the flame's coming out this way, some's coming out that way. And we just have to let it heat up now. I'll give it a little bit more. Oh yeah, I hadn't turned it up enough. Oh, you see, you get a funny flame. It's not, at this point it's burning all right. I close it up too much and you get a big gassy flame coming out the back because you've not got enough oxygen for it to burn. And it's only catching fire outside the forge, which is no good. So yeah, that's balanced at the moment. But when it gets hotter, say this thermally catalysed reaction will occur and we can close it up and we'll get a more even heat. So we just have to leave it 5 or 10 minutes now to even up.
So Nick, that's been running for a while. So what were you looking out for while it was running and getting to the right temperature?
Well, the first thing was to check the flame was going in the right place, but that we checked on earlier. And then when it came up to heat, I could gradually move the half brick in and close up the gap so all the heat came out the front of the forge, which gave a more even temperature. And then I did a little bit of fiddling about with the flame to get, so we had an even temperature, but I wanted to get the temperature in the right temperature range. So I was just altering the gas flow on the torch, and different torches will have different adjustments, but generally do a small adjustment and wait. Don't be too quick to make adjustments, and also be aware when it first comes up to heat, the outside of the bricks are still cold, so you'll need to put more heat into it. So it's better not to rush this, let it come up to heat and then turn it down. If you're making adjustments too early on, that the whole brick, the whole setup itself is still absorbing heat and hasn't equalised, so it's going to be very difficult to get an even temperature. But when it's come up to heat, it will hold a fairly even temperature.
And the other thing you were mentioning off camera is the topic of carbon monoxide.
That's true, yes. When you, I mean, I think it's true of any gas appliance really, but this being a sort of cobbled together one, you do have to be more careful of it. And one thing that we're doing here is it actually runs better in a
ventilated area.
Yeah, well no, I mean, the flame actually runs better like this, and if it's running better it won't produce, it's less likely to produce carbon monoxide because it's getting enough oxygen. When you close this down, the flame has to take a much longer path, and if it's not getting enough oxygen, it could produce carbon monoxide. So in that sense, you should be doing, ideally you do this outside. But if not, then it needs to be in a well-ventilated building. I mean, this is a big building, we've got the doors open front and back, so there's not really any danger. at this point, and it may not even be producing any carbon monoxide, but it's better to be safe. So outside or a very well ventilated building if you're doing this. But this is holding a very even temperature now. All the time I've been talking, it's been hovering in the 830 degree range, which is absolutely what we're looking for. 840 is what I generally do heat treatment of bearing steel at, so we're well within whatever spec we need to be there. And I'm using a thermocouple because otherwise you just end up looking at it and try to judge the temperature, and the whole point of this is to get an even temperature but also to know what the temperature is. So I'm using a thermocouple, and these are this is the thermocouple which I've been using on my big industrial forge for a long time, and it's great. It was an industrial like a laboratory instrument one, but one thing it had was a plastic cap in the back, and inevitably you put these in too far and they overheat and the plastic cap melts, and it's still all right, but there's always going to be the danger that this is going to short out at some point, although to be fair it's been like this for a long time, but it doesn't inspire confidence. So when I started buying some in for Hewn & Hone, I bought this version which has got a metal sheath, and it's actually got a stainless steel braid over it, and that's rated to I think about 400 degrees centigrade here, which means that it can, because obviously when you put it in you want it to go all the way in. What you could do is use a shorter one, admittedly, and just go in through the side, but then you just get a spot temperature at any point, whereas here I can move it along and check the temperature as it goes along, so it's easier to put it in against the blade. And also but I actually talk about in another video actually using a thermocouple to heat treat, because that's a slightly different thing, but I think it's easier just to put this all the way in. So a long thermocouple, this is 300 millimeters, is much safer, and one which you've got a stainless steel braid just makes it easier. So yes, this is one of the, I actually had these commissioned and made to my spec.
So when people do buy the thermocouple, what comes in the package?
The thermocouple just comes as the thermocouple with the braid, and with this plug was put on to fit the reader that we sell. And this is one, the reason I'm selling these readers is because these are ones I've used for years. They're a very simple one, and this is a newer version which comes with a handy carrying case, which isn't that make or break, but it also comes with a little flexible thermocouple, which is quite useful, and you can use that for taking the temperature of quenching oils. I mean, you can use it for taking the temperature of anything, but you can use that because the temperature of a quenching oil is quite important. But again, that's another heat treating thing, but they come with this little one, but it won't survive in the forge, so you can't use it for that. So that's the test equipment we use, and yeah, this is creeping up slowly. So at this point it's gone up maybe 20 degrees in the time I've been speaking to you, so I'd probably just tweak the heat down if I was looking for 840 for heat treat. And it's a tiny little adjustment, and then just wait. It's so easy to over adjust and then you're bouncing about, so you do a tiny adjustment, and this is dropped a degree now, 2 degrees, so hopefully we're about right, but it'll take a bit of faffing with, but when you get used to running it, it's really not too difficult. But I can see that it's got a nice even heat along its length, so you can see the thermocouple's looking even. It hasn't got a hot spot in, whereas quite often you'll say, if you're looking at a 2-brick forge on YouTube, they'll pull out a knife for heat treating and it's hot in the middle and cold at either end, which really isn't what I'm looking for. So that's it, 2.5 brick forge.
So there you have it, my friends. That is a wrap for this video. Nick, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I enjoyed it as well. It's the first time I've actually seen the entire process. We were at the bowl gathering at the time of filming this, just a few weeks prior, and I saw Nick demoing this. He taught a class, and the class went quite well, didn't it, with the people that took part?
Yes, yeah. People enjoyed it, and I've had videos. People have shown me the 2-brick forge they've made from watching me do it. So yeah, it's been been well received.
So just to kind of wrap up on a couple of important things that have been referenced throughout this video, as we mentioned at the very beginning, this is kind of Nick's process and what he finds work well. I will stress once again, if you're not familiar with Nick, Nick is a professional tool maker. It's what he does for a living and for many years, and his tools are very, very highly regarded. So he knows what he's doing, right? So this is something he's taken a very long time to figure out. So I'm incredibly grateful to Nick for allowing me to come document his process for actually making this here at his workshop in Wales. Now, a couple of things to kind of touch upon is number one, earlier on we were talking about the Thermocouple and the reader. So just to clarify for those watching, when they go ahead and if they decide to go ahead and purchase that, unless they decide to come to you to Hune and Hone to purchase that, what's some advice you give them in terms of when they actually go ahead to buy it? So you said it comes as two separate things,
Yes,
is that correct?
the Thermocouple is the long thermometer, which will give the temperature, but the reader is actually the little box with the LCD display that you read it off from. The point being is that some people have bought a couple of thermocouples to plug into one reader because they want one to do the temperature of the oil and one to do the temperature of the forge. And other people have already got a reader because the plug will work in other readers, so it might work. So I'm selling them separately. So
and with the thermocouples, how many varieties do you have?
I've got two different thermocouples. They're all 300 millimeters long because you need that length. But I've got a 3 millimeter one, which is the one we were actually using in the video, and a 6 millimeter one. And you saw a version of that, the one which I use in my sort of professional forge, which has got a plastic plug melted out of it, but the ones which I'm selling are still the stainless steel braid version, 6 millimeter. 6 millimeter one is quite a bit more expensive, but it is a bit better because it takes a little bit longer to come up to heat, which is comparable to how long a blade, roughly equates to how long a blade comes up to heat. So it tracks the temperature of the blades that you're heat treating a bit better than the 3 millimeter one. But for the first, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, I used the 3 millimeter one with no ill effects, but the 6 millimeter one is a little bit easier to use. But as everything in life, it's a little bit more expensive. So there's these two options, both will give comparable results.
So what I'll do is I will put links to all of those down below in the description, and if you decide to kind of get it from Hune and Hone, it will also support the work that Nick is doing. But everything that we kind of reference in regards to the thermocouple, the reader, etc., will be linked to down below. And another thing we mentioned during this video as well is that during my visit on this occasion to come and see Nick, we're going to be filming a mini series on actually forging a slide knife literally from scratch, from raw steel all the way to a finished product, and that's going to be a multi-part series. And what Nick is going to be using is actually this 2.5 brick forge within that series. So you can see it's not just theory, it's actually being used, and we're going to use it in that series for different aspects of it. So if that series is already out by the time you're watching this video, links to that will also be down below in the description. And finally, what I'm going to do is kind of put a link to Nick's personal Instagram profile and website, but I'm also going to put a link to obviously the products on Hune and Hone, and also the Hune and Hone Instagram down below. There's one thing I will ask of you, and it's our way of saying thank you to Nick to allow me to document his process so that you may learn. And that is, if you do give this a go, it will mean the world to me and Nick if you tag Hune and Hone on Instagram. To kind of show that you gave it a go and that you've got it working. I think it would be great to see.
That'd be good. I'd like to see what people come up with. I mean, that's the starting point. There are tweaks you can make, and it'd be interesting to see what other people, where they take it, because it's not vastly different from a 2-brick forge. It's just like a little bit is my take on it. So it'd be interesting to see your take, I suppose. Yeah.
So like as a final recap, links to all the components that we mentioned down below in the description. As we mentioned as well, this video is time-stamped, so you come back to this as a reference material. You don't have to manually scroll. You could just kind of go straight to that particular section, depending on what it is that you're doing. And what I'm going to do is put links below to all the other videos that I'm filming with Nick on this particular occasion. We've done a video about Nick's kind of personal website where he's making his own tools, but then also we've done a dedicated video on the Hune and Hone side of things. And then, like I said, we've got the mini series on the actual forging from start to finish, and links to all of those will be down below. And as we mentioned, this will be in use in that series. So Nick, a sincere thank you once again.
Oh, thank you. It's been good.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And like I said, I really do hope you enjoyed it as well. And appreciate you watching all the way up until the end if you have done so already. So links to everything down below. I shall see you in the next video with Nick. And until then, I hope whatever you're doing, you have a blessed day, a blessed week ahead. From Nick and myself at Outdoors, peace out.